Welcome to the California Maverick, a channel fighting for a free and sane California. I feel like a broken record because it's the same story over and over and over again. Surprise, more corruption tied to Gavin Newsom directly. This time, his former chief of staff is being federally indicted for illegally diverting campaign funds, falsifying business contracts for COVID-19 era Paycheck Protection Program loans, the PPP loans, and claiming luxury items as business expenses on her taxes. And that's only the tip of the iceberg, because there are connections here that lead to high-ranking Democrats in the state of California, including a former Biden appointee, using a network of consultants, shell companies, and political insiders funneling money. We got a lot to get into.
That breaking news is in Sacramento. A former chief of staff for Governor Gavin Newsom is among multiple people facing charges in a federal investigation. Dana Williamson made her first court appearance today. Thanks for joining us at 5. I'm Lisa Gonzalez.
I'm Golston Dart. Now, she's facing charges that include fraud, conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and making false statements. KCRA 3's political director, Ashley Zavala, is standing by live right now with what we know about the investigation. Ashley.
Well, Lisa and Golston, we should start off by saying this is one of the most powerful and influential women in California politics. Governor Newsom's former chief of staff, Dana Williamson, just within the last hour and a half or so, left the federal courthouse here on a $500,000 bond, facing serious allegations. She's accused of conspiring with Javier Becerra, who is currently a candidate for governor and the former U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary, conspiring with his chief of staff, Sean McCluskey, to take $225,000 from Becerra's political campaign account. Investigators say this happened between 2022 and 2024, which started before but continued while she was working for Governor Newsom. She faces 23 federal charges related to that, including wire fraud, bank fraud, obstruction of justice, and false tax documents. Williamson pleaded not guilty in court today. Her alleged co-conspirators, McCluskey and well-known Sacramento lobbyist Greg Campbell, have plea deals, according to court records. In a statement, Javier Becerra said, quote, "The news today of formal accusations of impropriety by a long-serving trusted advisor are a gut punch. I have voluntarily cooperated with the U.S. Department of Justice in their investigation and will continue to do so as California's former Attorney General. I fully comprehend the importance of allowing this investigation and legal process to run its course through our justice system." We did approach Ms. Williamson as she exited the courthouse today. Here's our exchange with her and her attorney. Should other California officials and people involved in the government be concerned now with this investigation underway?
Do you have any comment, Ms. Williamson?
No, you guys can contact my attorney.
Hey, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. It helps me out a lot and I will greatly appreciate it. Now on to the video. So Dana Williamson was Governor Newsom's former chief of staff, longtime advisor, and a politically connected consultant. Federal prosecutors are indicting her for diverting $225,000 in campaign funds. She used PPP loans for lobbying activities and expenses that were used for influencing legislation and government action. She claimed hundreds of thousands of dollars in fake business deductions for her luxury lifestyle. Some of her luxury business expenses included an $11,000 yacht rental, $15,000 for a Chanel handbag and a ring, $5,000 for a Fendi bag and wallet, $15,000 for her birthday in 2022, and $156,000 for a luxury vacation in Mexico in 2023 for her birthday, and a $7,000 Gucci bag and wallet, all written off under business expenses, paid for by the California taxpayer. But this is where it goes from just one person stealing money and misappropriating funds to a criminal network and system.
And the bulk of the charges revolve around what investigators called a scheme to help a man named Sean McCluskey funnel money from a dormant campaign account to his own accounts. McCluskey is former Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra's former chief of staff. The court documents claim McCluskey wanted to make more money while working for Becerra in Washington, D.C. According to investigators, Williamson allegedly worked with Greg Campbell to funnel the funds between 2022 and 2024. Greg Campbell, who also accepted a plea deal as a co-conspirator, is a well-known Sacramento lobbyist with a lot of big-name clients, from Major League Baseball, Paramount, TikTok, and United Healthcare, just to name a few. A consultant named Alexis Podesta was confirmed to be a co-conspirator in the case by her attorney. Court documents allege she assisted with the payments to McCluskey once Williamson went to work for the governor's office. Podesta, Williamson, and Campbell are all leaders in this political alliance known as the Collaborative.
Javier Becerra was appointed during the Biden administration from California's Attorney General to the U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary. He brought his California Chief of Staff, Sean McCluskey, with him to serve as his Chief of Staff in D.C. According to the federal indictment, Sean McCluskey wanted more money because he wasn't making enough, apparently. So he went to Dana Williamson and told her about this money laundering scheme he had planned. And so what does Javier Becerra have anything to do with this? Sean McCluskey and Dana Williamson used one of Javier Becerra's dormant political campaign accounts, which had several millions of dollars in it that was being unused. Williamson would bill the dormant account $7,500 a month to subsidize a $10,000 monthly payment to McCluskey, and it would be funneled through multiple shell companies owned by Dana Williamson, Alexis Podesta, and a very influential and prominent California lobbyist, Greg Campbell. After it was funneled through all these shell companies and consulting companies, it would end up in McCluskey's personal bank account. However, they didn't pay McCluskey directly, they paid his wife for work she never did because she was a stay-at-home wife and was never involved in McCluskey's businesses. And what's crazy is that Javier Becerra said he had no idea what was going on. So you're telling me a very prominent and successful politician that used to be California's Attorney General, which is the highest law enforcement position in the state, had no idea that his chief of staff and friend was funneling tens of thousands of dollars through his campaign account. And you're telling me that he just happened to leave several million dollars just sitting there in that account, and he had no idea about any of this money running through his campaign. Sure, whatever you say. But this is the Democrat playbook. This is their pattern. Anytime there's some type of money missing, some kind of corruption, some type of mismanagement or misuse of funds, it's always, I don't know, I had no idea, it's not in my purview, it's not my branch of government, I feel betrayed. But yet these very same people who somehow always seem to not know what's going on want to run the state and the entire country. Newsom wanting to be president, and Javier Becerra right now trying to run for California governor.
This investigation started several years ago, well before the 2024 election even began. So there's going to be a lot of questions about what prompted this to begin with. What was it? Was it an investigation into Gavin Newsom, as the Newsom people are now claiming? Or were there other things? If you look at this indictment, 23 counts. And the IRS agents were there, by the way, because she was claiming things like private jets and luxury gifts as business deductions, all right? And that's part of the problem. But there are a host of charges here they're going to be delved into. And this is a real problem for the governor. I don't care how you want to slice it politically. He's now, of course, after just 2 weeks ago, the big victory with Prop 50 here in California, seen as the lead sled dog for the Democrats in 2028. There's no getting around that. And this is going to present a major distraction until this thing gets resolved. And it doesn't look like it's going to be resolved anytime soon. She pled not guilty. That means we could be talking about a trial.
Is there a scenario where you could see Governor Gavin Newsom and Javier Becerra be subpoenaed to testify in a trial?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially Mr. Becerra and potentially the governor. He would have no right to refuse, as far as I can tell, because it's a federal jurisdiction. and he is a state employee.
So you want to run for president and or governor, but you can't even keep track of what's going on in your own campaign and in your own administration. I don't feel very confident in giving you my vote. But this is much larger than Dana Williamson, Greg Campbell, and Sean McCluskey. Dana Williamson is just the scapegoat, the patsy. Greg Campbell and McCluskey are also just the face of this whole thing, and they're taking the fall. All three of them are the fall guys of this entire thing, while Javier Becerra and Gavin Newsom wash their hands of this whole thing and come out clean. Now, Greg Campbell, who is very powerful and politically connected, the same with Sean McCluskey, both got plea deals, and they're most likely going to continue doing what they're doing. They're still going to be involved politically. They're still going to be involved in campaigns and state agencies and continue to hold some type of political power. Dana Williamson's probably going to go to jail for 20 years. And that's what's going to happen. Case closed, problem solved, and business as usual. But the culture of California politics still remains the same. Fraud, mismanagement, corruption. Dana Williamson's going to go to jail. McCluskey and Greg are given plea deals, and everyone just shrugs and moves on. Gavin Newsom runs for president, and everyone is none the wiser. And this isn't the first time someone has taken advantage of the PPP loans. In 2020, if you recall, Governor Newsom attended the French Laundry, where he dined with politicians, donors, and lobbyists, maskless, in the middle of all the COVID restrictions that he enforced on everyone else. But what got hidden underneath all the headlines about being maskless at the French Laundry and slipped through the cracks is that the French Laundry received $2.2 million in PPP loans. So the restaurant that Gavin Newsom frequently attended with all his friends and donors and lobbyists just so happened to get $2 million in PPP loans. And I'm sure he paid it back, of course, right? And if you still think he's innocent or that doesn't implicate him in anything, the Plumpjack Group, which is Gavin Newsom's food, beverage, and hospitality company that owns wineries, bars, restaurants, hotels, and liquor stores all through the Bay Area, happened to receive $3 million in PPP loans as well. And so while everyone was struggling, businesses were closing permanently and suffocating under his draconian authoritarian lockdowns and regulations, he just so happened to get $3 million in loans. And I'm sure he also paid that back. And if you believe that, I got a $9 million mansion to sell you in Marin. But it doesn't stop there. The corruption, the fraud continues. And I mention this in every video, and I'm sure the few people who consistently watch my videos are probably tired of it, but I'm going to keep on mentioning it and hammering it home. The $24 billion lost that was supposed to solve the homeless crisis in the state. $3 billion lost in the cap and trade funds by CARB, the Air Resources Board. The $1 billion for the Capitol Annex project that the California legislature is hiding. The $12 to $20 billion for illegal immigrant healthcare. The high-speed rail that is tens of billions of dollars over budget, and not a single track is laid. Over and over and over again. And we still vote for these people and let them get away with it. And we don't just let them get away with it. A lot of us defend it blindly. And instead of holding these people, these politicians, accountable for their corruption and their thievery and their lying, it's always about President Trump or the Republicans. These politicians like Gavin Newsom lie to you, gaslight you, steal from you, abuse your tax dollars, abuse you, run the state into the ground, and we keep rewarding them by keeping them in office and then giving them more power like Proposition 50. Your political team and ideology are put above everything else. And until that changes, this state will continue to struggle and continue to fail. And these politicians and bureaucrats will continue to perpetuate the same pattern of fraud, waste, abuse, and zero accountability. And it's crazy to me that at best, these people are incompetent. If they're completely innocent and they're not tied to any of this, they're grossly incompetent. If it was anybody else, like a CEO or an athletic director at a college or high school or a coach, even if they weren't the ones committing the crimes, they will be held accountable and asked to resign or be fired. But not Democrat politicians, not in California. And at worst, they're corrupt. And there's no positive way to spin it. There's no coping, there's no rationalizing, there's no other way to put it. They're either grossly incompetent or incredibly corrupt. And I don't know how to change it. And I don't know how to hold these people accountable. The only thing I can do is what I've been doing. I'm just going to keep on making videos and do my best to get the word out there. Because hopefully I hope that eventually Californians will say enough. If you like this video, leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.